be here. Let's get kicking. What have you done for me lately? Miners know something, and to make it work, you got to pack it all in, including money. You don't just pack in the bulldozers and the trucks. You need checks. To do mining, you need a few things. You need money, people, money, ideas, money, equipment, energy, hard work, luck, and then you need more money. A gold mine, to quote Mark Twain, to misquote Mark Twain, hole in the ground with a liar standing on top, although the correct quote is there. Channeling Mark Twain, I write investment newsletters. I know a few things. Over the years that I've been doing this, I've been lied to by some pretty good liars. I'd like to think I can tell who's giving me a line of BS and who's not. You never know. But I do go places. I check things out, kick the rocks, go underground, fly over it, climb over it, look at it. I'm a geo by background, training, lots of mineralogy, geochemistry. I do geology, and geology is about time, sort of a periodic table there. We won't get into that too deeply. But one point I do want to make is that aside from a few deposits of salt or bat guano in the world, everything geological is the project of geologic time. When you go out there on the floor and you start looking at companies and they're showing you their rocks and their minerals and their maps, you're thinking in terms of deep geologic time. I mean, some of these companies are dealing with items that are 2.5, 3 billion years old. Others are just a mere 200 million, 300 million years old. To do geology right, to do mining right, you need to understand time. Now, markets are about time as well, because a lot of that time is quick time, money time. People are bidding, buy, sell, all that sort of stuff. Time is money, money is time. A little Chinese saying here that an inch of gold and an inch of time are both valuable, but an inch of gold will never buy you an inch of time. Markets are all about crowds, because markets follow crowds. When people say, oh, this is great, we're finally getting some traction in the gold mining space or the mining sector, what does that mean? That means that, that the few of us, the proud, the little 25 of us who are left at the end of the capitulation point, are starting to be joined by a whole lot of other people. Maybe everybody's going to come to the beach now. You never know. But crowds are fickle. They get scared, they go away. Things scare them away. 20 years ago it was Bre-X, scared people out of mining for many years. I spent the past few years covering precious metals and platinum groups. There's me standing with some gold bars from Atlantic Gold, some gold dust from Hart Gold, a gold bar from Victoria from just a couple months ago. I was up there watching them pour that bar. This is the Philadelphia Gold Silver Index over the past 35 years. It's had its ups and downs. Interesting, but let's look at it a little closer. Let's look at the past 10 years. You see how the gold silver index has been below trend. That doesn't even begin to tell the story. Let's look at the breakdown. Let's look at the last 10 years. This goes back about 10 years. This is the Philadelphia gold silver versus gold, the price of gold. Gold is blue at the top. It went up, it went down, and it's kind of coming back up. But look at around 2011, what happened to the breakdown. Gold was trading up, down, sideways, whatever, for quite a few years, but the gold-silver index broke down by 75%, and that's just the index. Individual stocks were far worse. Starting in late 2011, crowds didn't like precious metals. Things changed early in 2016. This is 2016. Price of gold's on the bottom, and the Philadelphia index is on the top. And look at that takeoff, that rocket shot at the very beginning. I was alive. You were alive in the beginning of 2016. What was the big deal? Well, negative interest rates. But look at how that breakout happened when it happened, which tells you that if you miss the early move, you can miss big. You can miss big time. You do have to be invested. You might hate yourself for it. You might wake up in the morning and say, I hate myself for buying these shares because they're all down. But if you don't own them, you won't be there when they do move. From late 2016, from the kind of the election, the Trump election and everything to now, the price of gold's done what it's done, but what about that gold silver index? It muddled along for a while, really dropped like a stone, really kicked off in the last 6 months. Again, if you weren't there, you missed the train. So it's tough to time this stuff. It's nice to say you got to know when to hold, know when to fold, but do you really? You do have to be patient, and you've got to be playing with risk capital. Markets are about crowds, and crowds are fickle. I have the guy looking at the other girl. I got the girl looking at the other guy. I have like two different things here because this is Canada, and I want to be like egalitarian. I don't want to break any British Columbia laws, so I got it both ways. Markets want to see value creation. That's what they want to see. This is a Barrick slide, but it's all about, you explore, you find, you realize the value. Okay, great. This is Barrick talking. Value is not created in the stock market. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, we created a lot of value, for our shareholders because the shares, went up." Well, you created a lot of, helium perhaps, a lot of hot air perhaps, but value is created in the field by finding things. All the bright yellow stuff that you see there is value that was added by Barrick after they acquired an asset. That's where your value's at. And we can talk about Barrick if you want later on. But common critiques. This is really kind of the meat of what I want to talk about. The sector shows a history of capital destruction, inefficient exploration, bad capital discipline, relatively high G&A. Okay, gotcha. Let's talk about it. Capital destruction? Yep, sure does. We've wasted a lot of money, but many other sectors kill value as well. The tech unicorns, the cryptos, the marijuana. A lot of money has gone to money heaven. At least mines and miners produce real things because everybody out there probably has a smartphone. And if it's an iPhone, 63 out of 92 elements in the periodic chart are in your smartphone. Inefficient exploration? Yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. It's called exploration for a reason. You have to explore before you find things. You don't know what you have. You have to look for it to find it, or maybe not find it, and you learn something there too. Even if you find it, you don't know enough, you got to find some more, drill some more. A lot of companies are single asset companies. Plenty of companies exhibiting here have one asset. Sometimes they try to dress it up by saying we have 3 assets, but they're really 1 asset because the other 2 they don't do any work on. But all deposits are different. You never know which one's going to come through for you. Sometimes a deposit needs the magic touch of some particularly new model, some bright geologist, some bright engineer who can kind of crack the code on it. Capital discipline, relatively high general administrative, yeah. In many respects, mining is as much about people as it is about geology. Can the team deliver the deliverables? That's what you want. What's the history? Is management aligned with shareholders? Are they paying themselves a reasonably fair salary? When things are tough, do they defer their salary? Are they, are they in the same boat as you as a shareholder? These are things you want to be looking at. What's the balance of risk versus reward? With the upside promise there. If there are some assets that, if the magic touch came down from heaven, you still couldn't make something out of it. You're looking for something that does have that upside promise. The message that management ought to be conveying to the markets, if not to the crowds, is management ought to be telling you, and you ought to be questioning, does the idea have geologic merit? What is your geologic idea? What's the model? I'll get to that in a minute. But management needs to be telling the shareholders, and shareholders need to be asking, are you careful stewards of my money? Funny thing about investors, is they usually want their money back. Management needs to be de-risking the project all the time. There's good questions to ask managers out there, like, what are you doing to de-risk the project? What's the next risk event, the de-risking event? And what's the economic end game when we get here? Okay, you're out there drilling holes, you're out there doing everything else, geology, geophysics, riding around in helicopters, people to do all the things that they do. What's the economic end game? The idea has geologic merit. Let's get into that for a minute here. Are you in a good jurisdiction? Where are you in Canada? Where are you in the U.S.? You can cross a state line and go from a good jurisdiction to a bad jurisdiction. Are you in South America? Where in South America? Which country? Which province of which country? How about the land package? Do you own it? Do you think you own it? Do you have, what's the legal basis of your title? Do you have social license? You think of that in terms of South America, where the locals show up in their native garb and they block the road. But I mean, you have the same thing in North Dakota. You have the same thing in the Yukon. You must have social license. Got to have good rocks, of course. Grade is king. Always, the better the grade, the better the deal. Do you have a good working model? Can you build something? I mean, roads, power. I mean, is it doable? And will it be economic? These are some of the ideas that you're looking for in terms of geologic merit. Time out here. What is a model? Think about this. I mean, on the left is a photograph that I took at the Greenwich Maritime Museum outside of London. It's an old ship model. Somebody built that ship model. They put it all together very carefully. Why'd they do that? Did it because they wanted to play in the bathtub? No. They wanted to see if the ship they were going to build fit. They wanted to see if all the spars were in the right place. They wanted to know where to put the ballast, where to put the gun decks, where to put the masts. Same thing with a mining project or a geologic project. What is your model? Don't ever be afraid of challenging somebody to show you, explain to you, tell you what is the model. What is it you're doing here? Why do you think we should put money into the ground? Why do you think we're ever going to get money back out of it? Management staff, they have to convince people that they're careful stewards of your money, the investor's money. They want to squeeze every penny. You find, which conferences are you going to? How many conferences? There's plenty of conferences out there. Way too many, in my humble opinion. Management needs to tell the shareholder, we own shares, we're invested too. We get our special shares from the special deals, but we buy in the open market. It's a nice sign. When they sell in the open market, that's not a good sign. We have models. We just talked about models. We have plans. We're always updating our models and our plans. Every drill hole, every geologic map ought to have a purpose, ought to come back and de-risk and make it a better project. If we fail, we're honest people. We're going to tell you that's what you want. Because you're building a mine, and it's not the Moscow subway. You don't want to go, be gold plating it. You're not going to be putting marble and sculpture and chandeliers everywhere. You've got to. There's a certain way of doing this. You want to be de-risking the project. As you begin a project, you're always looking far ahead. Even before you begin a project, you're thinking about mine closure. You're guarding the social license. You're not, polluting the water. You're not, making a mess. You're not doing things that get you kicked out, get the roads blocked. You're always pursuing and guarding your permits. Your permits are gold. You might think that the gold is the gold, but actually it's your permits, because if you don't have any permits, you may as well just go home, watch football on TV. Engineering models, geologic models, always be de-risking those, upgrading those models, collect more data. These people have to be data hogs. They build models. Models are your intellectual property. We talk about the tech field, computers and software and all. Oh yeah, we have IP. So do these guys. Their IP is called drill data, drill results. And we're honest with ourselves and with our shareholders. We're not going to kid ourselves. If it works, it works. If it's not going to work, we're going to tell you. Ideally, that is what would happen. Not always. Economic endgame. Everybody out there ought to be able to tell you that there will be ore, and tell you why there will be ore, why you can build something. Why is this not just an interesting science experiment? I mean, we get lots of grad students, lots of master's degree people and PhD candidates to go out and trape around and pick up rocks and make maps and say interesting things about them. But when they're using your money, no, you want you want the end game in sight, in your vision. You want to be able to sell it to somebody or let somebody else build it, whatever. But at some point, there has to be exit points. Investors will get their money back. That's what they want. That's what management needs to tell them. A whole lot more. Precious metals look good, because whatever's coming in the world doesn't look good. This is a chart from a friend of mine named Dave Callum, who's a professor of organic chemistry at Cornell University, and he writes this really interesting blog about economics every year. It's a bit busy, so I'll just tell you that he highlights a whole bunch of periods of economic uncertainty, various things. Collapse of the Soviet Union, 9/11, Lehman Brothers collapse, Brexit. Well, look at the one on the right side there. The people, investors, the economy are as uncertain as they've ever been. And when that happens, the default is hard assets, meaning gold, silver, platinum, but hard assets in general. Getting towards the end here, one last thing. What does Vladimir Putin know? He's a smart guy. He knows a few things. Russia's been buying gold for years now. They've accumulated a very significant stash. They're de-dollarizing. They want nothing to do with the U.S. or the West or its dollars. They've got their own thing going. But Putin made an interesting point. He said, the dollar enjoyed great trust around the world. For some reason, it's being used as a political weapon. That's sanctions. Countries are turning away from the dollar as a reserve currency. Putin says the dollar is going to collapse soon. Maybe he's wrong. Then again, maybe he's right. I don't know. That's why I own gold. That's why I own gold miners, other miners. That's why. That's probably why you're here. That's why you should be walking the hall, looking at these companies. Thank you very much.